Welcome back to another episode of Maximum Lawyer. I just got off of an interview with another podcaster, Chris Dreyer, and he was interviewing me for his podcast. He's the owner of rankings.io. And we just had a really great conversation. And there was a part of it that I thought was great, and I want to talk about it a little bit. And it's something that we did with our firm that really helps us ourselves apart from other firms. And I think it'd be really, really helpful for other people to hear about it. And so I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I've not talked about it in depth on the podcast before. I've mentioned it maybe a couple of times, but I'm going to go in a little bit more depth. And the whole idea of this is setting your firm apart from other attorneys, okay? Your firm apart from other firms. This is not something that I think we do, as a profession, generally well, right? People tend to do the things that other people are doing. When Scorpion was big, everyone tried to get Scorpion. When FindLaw was big, everyone was using FindLaw. This is a little different, okay? What we're going to talk about is a little different. And it all really started with this whole process where we went through the client journey as a firm. And it was a really, really interesting exercise. And I think you should seriously sit down and try to do this as a firm. And I would do it as a firm. You can do it by yourself if you want, but I don't think you're going to be able to grasp all the moments that need to be grasped and captured. And I'll explain why in a second, because you'll start to pick up why. Okay. And here's how you kind of think about it. All right? If you break down every single part of the case from the client's perspective, and what I mean by that is every sliver of a moment that you can think of, and think of it as like a Kanban board in a way. And the board that we had created was in Miro, Miro. We don't have the paid plan anymore. I've actually got it pulled up here I've got the free version that I can only access it. I can't actually edit it or anything, but it's really, really helpful. And so I'm gonna tell you how to set it up, and you can create it in a spreadsheet if you want, because that's basically what the setup is. But what we did is we thought about it from every little sliver from the client's perspective. Okay. Like, what are they doing while they're at the scene of a crash? Like, who are the people that they're talking to? What are the things that they're interacting with? Okay. All of those little things. Okay. So you want to think about it from every single just sliver from the moment the client's thinking about an attorney to after they leave your office, after they no longer have an active file. Okay. And the reason why this topic came up, because he asked me, because he was talking about how we really, with our firm, we really kind of have this concierge model. And he was asking, it's like sort of some of the things that we do and how we came to those. And years ago, we sort of created this completeinjurylaw.com. And it's part of the Bain firm, but the whole thinking is that every aspect when it comes to your case, we're going to help you out with it one way or the other. So if you can't get to the doctor because you don't have your car, we're going to pay for an Uber to get you there. So like we set up an Uber account, a business Uber account, and that way we get scheduled rides for our clients, all that kind of stuff. So everything when it comes to a client's case and then being injured, we helped take care of all of that. We schedule doctor's appointments, single thing you can think of. Okay. And how we did that, it was not something where we just, what should we do? Right. It's not something that simple. We broke it down. So column by column, so sliver by sliver, every part of the case. And we asked some questions. Okay. What is the client doing at this stage? What are they doing? And we go into detail. We put everything down that everyone's thinking that they're doing at that stage. Okay. So let's use the car crash as an example. So you're at the scene. Like what is it the client's doing? The client's thinking, okay, am I injured? Okay. Is anyone else in my car injured? Is anyone else, is the other vehicle injured? They're thinking, should I call the police? Like they're trying to just kind of assess the situation. All right. And then we go into what and who do they interact with? So they're probably going to be interacting with drivers that are driving by. They're interacting with the police, maybe paramedics, the other driver, right? Everything you can think of while they're at the scene. Okay. and we go through what's the client thinking. And I went through some of the stuff that already the client's thinking, like, but I'll add a couple, what do I need to go to the hospital? Can I get this thing from the scene? Like, is this something that I can drive from the scene? Or is this something, am I going to need a tow truck driver? And you might be thinking, well, why would you need to think about this stuff? Okay. I probably just mentioned something just now if you're a personal injury attorney that you may not have even thought of. Like, do you have, let's say that they call you from the scene. If you're an injury attorney, my guess is that most of you have been called from the scene of a crash by a client and they're kind of freaking out, they're stressed out, which is the next thing we ask about. We ask is, what is the client feeling? So like, what's going through their mind? Like what are their emotions? But the tow truck driver, I bet a lot of you don't have a list of tow truck drivers that you could give to that client right then at that time, so their vehicle is not towed off to some city lot. I bet you don't have that, but now you do, because you're kind of going through this process with me. And so whether it doesn't matter if you're an estate planning or criminal defense attorney or personal injury attorney, family law, it doesn't matter. You can think about all these different actions. So when it comes to, I talked a little bit about the emotional side of things. So what's the client feeling? Well, at that point, they're probably a little confused. They may be a little dazed because they're, they're injured. They were in a crash. They're probably in pain. That's something that they're feeling. Some of them are angry. They're pissed off that someone ran a red light. That's something that's going through their mind right now. Really, really important. And then we kind of label this part of the process. Okay, who in our firm is going to be who's going to own this part of it? And most likely it's going to be, in this situation, it's going to be someone on the case, someone on the cares team. So someone on the cares team is going to be responsible for this part. What needs to be done from our perspective. And in this scenario, most likely nothing's going to be done by us at this point, because the vast majority of people are not calling us from the scene, but there might be some. And so if they do call, what are we doing in that situation? All right. So what needs to be done by us? All right. And you list all the things that need to be done by your firm in that situation when they call. All right. And by the way, one of the slithers down the road from this is like what the actual initial contact is with us. We go through all the exact same questions. They're on the phone with us. What we ask the exact same questions with every single slither. So let's go back though. They're at the scene of the crash. Okay. Opportunities. This is the gold. And here is where you set yourself apart from all other firms. What can we do that no one else is doing? Okay. What can we do that no one else is doing? Right. So they're at the scene of the crash. Now, in this situation, maybe nothing, because they may not have called us. But if they did call us, what can we do that is different? Okay. And this is where you can really come up with some gold. Can you send a representative out to the scene? I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. It's just an idea that just came off the top of my head. I just gave you the idea of like the tow truck driver, right? So you have a list of tow truck drivers. Hey, let me give you this list of things you should do right now. Okay. So you have your task list right there for the person. I need you to take some photographs of the scene. I need you to get a video of the scene. And it's best if you have an iPhone, Yes, great. Okay. When you hit record, they have that new feature where if you tap you can take photos as you're taking video. So I want you to go around and give them a list of things to do. So you have action items that actually you can do at this stage. And I'm going to read some of the things that we listed years ago. Okay. That just were some ideas, and some of these may not apply because if they don't call, then there's nothing we can really do. So we didn't really ever institute this thing, but we had something that we call the client concierge service. So we could get them in touch with the client concierge service to get them signed up with a rental car. If anybody wants to steal this idea, you go right ahead. I'm not doing it, but as a part of the firm, if they hired us on the scene, we could totally do the exact same thing with our cares team. Getting them set up with a rental company, getting them set up with a tow truck company, tell them where to go when it comes to their medical, all that kind of stuff. So we offer the same service. We just don't have that separate client concierge service that we have. So we have this idea, drop it on clients, welcome team. That was an idea someone threw out. Obviously wouldn't apply in this stage, but it might apply on a later stage. We have actually had things hand delivered by team members before that went over really, really well. Another thing is we'd send out the shock and all package. So if they called us, the shock and all package would go out that same day. So these are a few ideas. And then I know this may seem like a very small thing, but it's one of those things where we start the text conversation with the person. So even if they don't hire us right now, we're going to go ahead, because the amount of information you're going to get while they're at the scene, it's going to be bang, 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 right? It's going to be pretty darn quick. So we start the text conversation with them. That's one of the things that might be different than a lot of other firms. I'm not saying I'm not saying a lot of firms don't text. What I'm saying is I think a lot of firms don't start that text conversation right then. And what I mean by that is like, here's what I want you to do. You're probably going to get the phone because the police are going to arrive. I'm going to go ahead and text you so you have our number. And I want you to ask us any questions. I'm going to send you all the things that you need to do while you're at the scene. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to be right here waiting for you to text me. And if you need to call in, we're ready. So you start that text conversation. Most firms are not doing that. I promise you that most firms are not doing that. Most firms are just trying to keep people on the phone, trying to get them signed up right then, when in reality, it's not the most realistic thing. So instead, you get that text conversation going right now so that you're not calling anybody else, and then you try to close after that, right? That's why that's different. So if I were you, and we've done this all the way from start to finish on our cases, I highly recommend that you do that same thing. So let me go through these questions with you again so you have them, and it's easy for you to take notes on this. So you start with, what is the client doing? What and who do they interact with? What is the client thinking? What is the client feeling? What needs to be done and by whom? What needs to be done? And this is that's the process ownership. So what needs to be done and by whom? That's the process ownership that I talked about. And then tasks, what needs to be done? Okay. So the first part was the process ownership, and the other part's the actual tasks underneath it. That one's kind of redundant, to be honest with you. And then, again, this is something we did years ago. Opportunities. What are we doing, or what can we do that no one else is doing? Okay. What can we do that no one else is doing? And that's where you're going to find the magic in all this. And this is where you're going to set yourself apart from all other firms. That's the part that's really, really magical. I guess I shouldn't wrap without saying this thing too. A part of this too is that we had created our client avatar. So I think it's important for you to do this, so you know what your client avatar is. Okay. Our ideal client, it's Mary Green, 50-year-old brain surgeon from Chesterfield, Missouri. She's married with 2 children, and she's very friendly. She's got a 300-500 policy with UIM and MedPay. Okay. That is our avatar. Okay. That is who we want to target. That's our ideal client. All right. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I go into all of that in another episode as to why that particular avatar is our client. But generally, to make it short, it means more revenue for the firm. That's what it means. Okay. And it's a client that is typically very easy to deal with. All right. And that's why we target that type of client. But that's all I have for you today. Shorter episode. I actually thought I'd go a little bit longer on this one, but I think I'm giving you what you need to know, and that's about it. So hopefully you enjoy this. If you have any questions, would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment and I will respond to you. So make sure you do that. Whether you like this or you hate it, I want to hear it either way. Have a great week, everybody. Make sure you check out beccaslist.io for the best and worst vendors. So the best vendors and then the ones to avoid. Make sure you check out Becca's List. And if you're interested in the association, go to maxlawevents.com for the events, and then maximumlawyer.com, where you can find out more information on how to join us in the association. Take care. We'll be seeing you.